I am running unit coal trains on my layout today. Let me show you. I'm Roy Smith. Glad you could join me. Today I am running 2 unit coal trains, one loaded and one empty, in opposite directions on my layout. You will see these 2 trains running throughout this video. You will also see Amtrak's eastbound California Zephyr. Why are the 2 coal trains running in opposite directions? Well, quite simply, to simulate the movements of a loaded coal train heading westbound and an empty coal train heading eastbound. A staging yard will help to create the illusion that the trains are coming from some origin off layout and are heading to some destination off layout. In previous videos, you have seen me use my primary staging yard under Green River to create the illusion of trains going to off-layout destinations and the illusion of loads going in one direction and empties going in the opposite direction. Creating these illusions is made possible by 2 helices that connect the upper and lower levels of my layout. But today I won't be using this staging yard. Instead, I will be running trains out of my secondary staging yard at Pocatello, Idaho. Here you see the 2 coal trains staged at Pocatello. In a moment I will couple up some locomotives to the trains and they will soon depart. But first, let me show you my track plan to help you understand the movements of the 2 coal trains. My layout, which fits in a room measuring 10 feet by 12 feet, is loosely based on a portion of the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision, which runs from Green River, Wyoming to Ogden, Utah. And to it, I've added the UP's Pocatello Subdivision, running from Granger, Wyoming to Pocatello, Idaho. Pocatello, seen here at the bottom of the track plan, is the newest area of my layout. It is my secondary staging yard. It is still not scenic, but eventually it will be, and I will be adding some building flats along the backdrop. From the very beginning, Pocatello was designed to be a staging yard from which I could add additional traffic to my layout. I will put a link to my Pocatello playlist down below. Again, I've staged the 2 coal trains here. One is loaded and the other is empty, and they are ready to run in opposite directions. They are unit coal trains, and I will have more to say about that and the type of cars in the trains in a minute. This map shows you the origin of my loaded coal train at the Powder River Basin, depicted in yellow. The Powder River Basin is by far the largest source of coal in the U.S. today. Most of the coal from the Powder River Basin goes to the American Midwest, where it is used at power plants. For me, it is located off layout to the northeast of the area that I am modeling. But the staging yard allows me to simulate the movement of coal trains into and out of the Powder River Basin. The loaded coal train will depart from the Powder River Basin, represented in staging, and will cross the area that I'm modeling, shown in the green box. Then it will continue on to Portland, Oregon, which is off layout and also represented in staging. At Portland, the coal will be loaded onto ships bound for Asia, especially China, which has an enormous appetite for coal. Meanwhile, the empty coal train will depart from Portland, represented in staging, heading eastbound as it crosses my layout en route back to the Powder River Basin. All right, I've coupled up the locomotives, and the loaded coal train is now rolling westbound toward Portland. Here it crosses the lift-up bridge at the entrance to my train room. The lift-up bridge normally remains up until I enter the train room and lower it to run trains. All of the cars in a unit coal train, like this one, travel as a unit all the way from their origin to their destination. They do not need to be switched out at yards along the way. On the prototype, these trains might be 150 cars long, but on my layout, they typically are 20 cars long. And now, Back at the staging yard, the empty coal train is about to depart eastbound. Like the loaded westbound coal train, this empty one consists of Beth-gone coal porters. Beth-gone coal porters have tubs underneath in the space between the trucks. These tubs provide additional coal hauling capacity and lower the car's center of gravity. The coal porters are equipped with rotary couplers on one end so that they can be turned over and emptied by a rotary dumper. The color on one end indicates the end with the rotary coupler. These cars must always have the end with the rotary couplers oriented in the same direction, and you can see this on my trains. The Beth-gone coal porters will have to be unloaded at their destination using a rotary dumper. Each car will be slowly turned upside down in the rotary dumper to empty the coal. All of my coal porters are Catos. They come with dummy couplers. Once the cars are coupled, they are expected to stay coupled as unit trains. I uploaded a video about this back in June called Dummy Couplers on Cato N-Scale Beth-gone Coal Porters. I will put a link to that video down below. Okay, having arrived at Granger Junction, the empty coal train must now stop and wait for an eastbound Amtrak train to pass. Amtrak ended its regular service across southern Wyoming in 1997, but sometimes the Colorado route, which Amtrak normally uses, is closed because of wildfires, mudslides, or track maintenance. When that happens, Amtrak trains are rerouted across southern Wyoming. That's how I justify the occasional appearance of an Amtrak train on my layout. Meanwhile, that loaded westbound train arrives at Green River Yard. It had been stacked up along with other trains east of Green River, waiting for clearance to pass through the yard, which is a busy and sometimes congested place. Like all trains passing through Green River, it must stop here for a crew change. I'd like to find a way to automate these stops for crew changes at Green River. That is, I would like to install some kind of automatic slowdown, stop, and start up again to simulate the stops for crew changes. If you know of an easy way to do this, please let me know. And now, back to the empty coal train at Granger Junction. The Amtrak train has passed through, so the coal train can resume its eastbound trip. And it too must stop for a crew change at Green River. As it so happens, the relief crew for the empty coal train is ready to go before the relief crew for the loaded coal train. And finally, the relief crew for the loaded coal train is aboard, and the train can resume its westbound movement. Here at Granger Junction, the loaded coal train leaves the Evanston Subdivision and enters the Pocatello Subdivision. Soon enough, it arrives back in staging at Pocatello, as if heading on to Portland with its load. And meanwhile, The empty coal train continues east to staging as if returning to the Powder River Basin. That's how unit coal trains operate on my layout. It's how I simulate the westbound movement of loaded coal trains and the eastbound movement of empty ones. I feel that what I'm doing is much more realistic than simply running loaded or empty trains around in circles without off-layout origins and destinations and a staging yard to make this illusion work. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Well, thanks again for joining me today. Be sure to click over here for more videos to watch. As always, I'm Roy Smith. Until next time, happy railroading.